Oh boy.
Don't touch me with it.
Welcome to our social distancing version of reaction videos. We did it. We got sick and tired of it, and in the Netherlands, the rules have eased up to the point where we can be in the same room as each other, just 1.5 meters apart. So here we are. Look at my bookshelf. Enjoy it. So we're just going to be hanging out on either end of my bookshelf here, just dropping some knowledge on the Temple of Doom.
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones 2! Yes, we've been waiting. You guys have been wanting this video since we came out with the first reaction video, so we're really excited to bring this to you. We were supposed to film this in March, but life happens.
The planet happens.
World events happen.
Yes.
But here we are, we're ready for it, and I think it's going to be a good one. I'm excited. Let's go watch it!
Yeah.
All right, guys. Temple of Doom. Super, super exciting. And to celebrate Temple of Doom, we are going to eat the most delicious cuisine ever. Indian food. Oh man, it's been a while since we've done one of these.
Yeah.
I'm
so excited.
Let's get to it, guys.
Movie time.
So the movie opens with Indiana Jones in Shanghai in the 1930s. Let's actually look at what Shanghai in 1935 might have actually looked like. In the 1920s, Shanghai became a huge capital for drugs. So in the 1930s, it would have definitely continued on that way. All the mobsters were around there, and there were two different gangs called the Green Gang and the Red Gang. And the most prominent figure was a guy named Tu Yun Sheng, which I'm mispronouncing horribly. I'm so sorry, but we tried. This guy actually eventually became known as the Opium King, and he was definitely a very powerful figure in Shanghai in the 1920s and 30s. This is what Shanghai would have looked like, the way that they're presenting it in Temple of Doom, because there's all these mobsters and, money that was kind of going around, kind of shady,
So then with regard to Indy, they probably wouldn't have been dealing with him in this way. They had so much authority that they wouldn't make it so personal. They wouldn't need to wear a diamond. It's just a bit dramatized. But it's a movie.
It's very James Bondy,
Yeah. But it's Indy, and anything goes.
Anything goes in Indiana Jones. Yep.
You never told me you spoke my language, Dr. Jones.
Dr. Jones. Oh, he's still a doctor in this.
Oh no, that makes everything worse.
It does. Oh my God. He's already got a doctorate and he's tomb robbing.
That means he is educated.
No.
So let's talk about our boy Indy in this movie. Temple of Doom is supposed to be a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. The thing is, because it's a prequel, this is supposed to predate Indy's, more professional side. So him as a professor, etc. It belongs in a museum business. So it's supposed to portray Indy as being this kind of rough antiquarianist to a degree, but essentially doing this kind of grave robbing business that we, talk about a lot. So it's a bit of a shame. But at the same time, it could also be portrayed that Indy is realizing that he could do this for, the common good. He could help in some way with his shady business.
His skills.
Yeah. His skill set can be applied into more ethical avenues, so to speak, which is a good thing too.
Kind of what he does by the end of the movie anyway. So.
Yeah. But it's a curious thing to know that this is a prequel, so Indy's character is a little bit different. This is more of just an Indy talk than it is an archaeological.
Yeah, and it's showing him that, he is not a proper archaeologist. He's a little bit of a tomb robber. Obviously, he becomes a lot more reputable in the other movies.
Well, I thought archaeologists were always funny little men searching for their mommies.
Mummies.
What does that even mean?
Ugh, I hate her.
That woman.
So, it is true. You found Muachi. You know I did. Here he is.
So the remains of this emperor that they're talking about. So there is a real guy, Narachi.
We're just gonna butcher them.
We're so bad with the names this time. I'm sorry. But he was born in 1599, and he became the first emperor of the Manchu dynasty, which is the very last dynasty that ruled China until 1911. And that's probably why this thing was so important for the mobsters, because it was very recent in their history when they stopped having an emperor. So this is kind of like the beginning of the end for the Chinese emperors.
I wonder if anyone's calculated Indy's associated murder counts.
Where's my gun?
I burnt my fingers and I cracked a nail!
Like, is she that dumb? Is this movie just gonna be a trash talking?
It's a strange, weird, instant hate that I feel.
So what are you supposed to be, a lion tamer?
She is very annoying, but in her defense, this is a very unusual situation that not many people fall into.
That's true.
So you will go to Pankot Palace to find Sivalinga and bring back to us.
The main thing that Indiana Jones is trying to hunt down are first of all, the stolen children. They're really also trying to find these shivelings. And there is actually some accuracy to what these stones are.
A shivling is also known as a lingam, which are abstract representations of Shiva, who is a god that creates, protects, and transforms the universe.
So the shivling or the lingam is the primary cult image in Hindu temples for Shiva. It's very popular iconography.
Archaeologist rating. Archaeologically accurate.
The crops were swallowed by the earth. The animals
So he speaks
Senatese.
turned to dust.
Where did this come from?
all this intricate terminology too.
It's crazy how specialized he is in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything.
Everything.
And
Dr.
good
Jones.
You go to archaeology school, you learn everything. Archaeology school.
Archaeology school.
Why are you dragging us off to this deserted palace? Fortune and glory?
Fortune and glory.
Fortune and glory?
What?
That's not what we do with archaeology. It's not why we do it, guys. It's like the worst catchphrase for archaeology.
Yeah. Fortune and glory.
God.
Because we don't get a fortune, nor do we get the glory.
Yeah, no glory, no fortune.
Indy, look!
I see it, Shorty.
That's it.
Pankot Palace.
How do you know that?
This whole movie.
Sometimes I'll take a wrong turn here and I'll be like, oh, where am I?
It's like he's been there before.
Yeah. Pankot Palace. Yeah, fiction.
Yeah.
That's it.
Didn't exist.
It's just fiction.
My name is Indiana Jones.
Dr. Jones, the eminent archaeologist.
Everyone knows who he is.
I hope that one day that's what people say about me.
Jude, the eminent osteologist.
The Maharaja of Panko, Zalim Singh.
So while in the movie, the little child prince, Zalim Singh, wasn't real, there was a guy named Rai Zalim Singh, who was a real person.
Yeah. That might have been where they got the name from.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this guy, Rai Zalim Singh, who actually existed, became Raja of Badri in 1798.
Yeah.
So he existed.
It seems the British never forget the mutiny of 1857.
So in the movie, they do mention this mutiny of 1857, and indeed it did happen. It's called the Indian Rebellion of 1857, and it happened between the years of 1857 and 1858. And there was a lot of uprisings around India in various states, and it really did threaten British regime in India. So the Indian Rebellion was fed by a lot of just poor treatment by the British of the Indians, you know, bad taxes, land reform, social restrictions, things like that. But it was a very divisive rebellion because a lot of people fought against the British, but a lot of people fought with the British. So it's very sort of a contested part of history, and we don't even have a proper set name for it. It's been named things like the Indian Mutiny, the Sepoy Mutiny, the Great Rebellion, the Revolt of 1857, the India Insurrection, and as well as the First War of Independence. Good on Temple of Doom for mentioning it because it is a very big part of Indian history and their relationship with the British.
You know perfectly well that Thuggy cult has been dead for nearly a century.
Yes, of course. Thuggy was an obscenity that worshipped Kali with human sacrifices. The British Army nicely did away with them.
Fun fact, the English word for thug actually does come from the Hindu word.
This.
I think it's pronounced thag. Again, I'm sorry. And this word means swindler or deceiver. Thuggies refer to the acts of these thugs, these devious criminals who would rob and murder travelers in India. The thuggies date back to approximately the 13th century, and what they would do is sort of disguise themselves as travelers, as fellow travelers. They'd meet up with other travelers, you know, they'd have baggage, everything like that. And they might even camp with these other travelers for a few days to gain their trust. They'd be able to size up their victims and kind of see what their potential would be. And then one evening, they would attack. And they would usually come up from behind and they would either strangle them, you know, kill them, and then dispose of the bodies and steal all their stuff. This really does seem like the stuff of movies, but it actually happened. And the Thuggees themselves kind of made their own little community. They formed a sort of cult. So there were both Hindu and Muslim people in this cult, and both the Hindus and the Muslims within the Thuggee cult worshipped the goddess Kali as the goddess of renewal and destruction. And these murders that they were committing were actually sort of these ritual sacrifices that they were doing for the goddess. So for them, it was part of their religion to go and murder these people and steal their stuff and sacrifice to the goddess. This operation went on well into the 19th century, and when the British came in, they really set out to take control over this issue, and they murdered them, they imprisoned them, all this bad things, yep. And by 1870, they were pretty much all but wiped out. Of course, the film is highly exaggerating the whole operation by the thugs, and some people even think that there was no religious mandate with them. There's a lot of writing, it's a very debated topic about how it might have even just been made up by the British to try and say, you know, to give them a little bit of a, we got rid of the thugs, you know, propaganda. But the long and short of it is that, yes, there was a group of people called the thugs or the Thuggees. They worshipped the goddess Kali, but they were not as, you know, religiously extreme or as crazy as you see in the Temple of Doom.
Chilled monkey brain.
Like, what? Why?
Indian food. Okay.
They just make it look so disgusting, like eyeball soup, monkey brains for dessert.
I think anybody watching this can accept this part of our complaining. That we can all agree that they do not reflect Indian food in the movie well at all. Indian food is the best food ever.
So
delicious. I love it.
And
if food is basically impossible to learn how to make at home, it's good.
You become very respectful of it and you cherish it.
Anyways, the movie just didn't, it's not fair. That was not fair.
They don't give it justice.
No.
Primitive sexual practices.
So you're an authority in that area?
Years of field work.
I'm a dog, girl.
Whoa,
Oh, I broke a nail.
I forgot about that part.
Did that get you?
It did.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
That was the most tame part.
I
It's moving!
Ew. Oh god, centipede.
It's a Thuggee ceremony. They're worshipping Kali.
So Kali is the goddess of death, time, and doomsday. Also, you know, sexuality and violence. So for her to have these kinds of evil overtones is not surprising, makes sense. But it's kind of turned up times 5,000 in the movie.
Yeah.
It's a bit
You
dramatic.
really make her like evil, scary,
Yeah,
foreign
really
god.
scary. But she wasn't. She wasn't. So Kali is also considered to be a very strong motherly figure. And so this is what we mean with evil overtones. It's a bit much because she has a very positive light to her as well. Kali also embodies Shakti, which entails feminine energy, creativity, and
fertility.
And fertility.
What I love most about Kali is that she's got like 4 arms and she's got a big knife and she's not afraid to use it. She's got a necklace of heads and then a skirt of arms. Like, what an amazing outfit is that? She is just like the coolest Hindu. Oh, she's badass. The Hindu gods are super complex, amazing, ethereal, religious figures, and we can't really get into it in the show here. We can't go as in depth as we would want to, especially with Kali, because she's super cool. So read up yourself on Kali, because I love her. She's so cool. Mola Ram, the very evil Mola Ram, our villain in the movie. Actually, there was a guy in history named Mola Ram, but he wasn't evil. He was actually quite nice. He was a painter who lived in the 18th and 19th dynasties.
Was he nice?
I don't know, who knows?
With him?
I didn't meet him, but you know. It's not as evil as Mola Ram in the movie, I'll tell you that. He was a really great painter, 18th, 19th dynasty. He started off painting in the Mughal style, which is a very famous Indian painting style, but then he did some traveling and he decided to paint in what we call the Gurwal style. And he wrote a history of the Gurwal Empire, which is actually the only source that we have of this empire, so that's really important. You can still see his paintings in India as well as the Boston Museum in the United States. He would have died right there from the heat, though. Like, he wouldn't have been alive all this time. Well, first he would have died from the heart being removed.
Yeah.
Okay, so human sacrifice when we're talking about Hinduism, this is another really interesting one because there is a tradition in the Vedic tradition of something called Purusha Meda. Again, I probably botched that pronunciation.
Apologies.
Yes, but it does allude to human sacrifice, but it's very probable that no human sacrifice actually ever took place. It was probably some sort of symbolic ritual, and there is some evidence in the Vedic text that allude to human sacrifice, but again, it probably never actually happened in real life, and there's also no sort of like widely detectable evidence that it was a normal belief in everyday practices of Hinduism. So they're just really kind of demonizing the Hinduism and Hinduism gods.
Human sacrifice is also something that's very misunderstood in history. And it's kind of one umbrella of this demonizing thing within human sacrifice. When it was, man, the amounts of ways people were willingly doing it in some culture. Like it's...
Yeah, people were volunteering.
Yeah.
So
it's not all hard out of the chest business.
It's not.
Yeah.
Like, where's his skeleton? Oh man, the whole thing just dissolved. But the metal?
Not possible! Unless it's acid. Voodoo! Oh, they made him already.
With the whip and everything.
They know you to... This kid.
Look at my crafts I made in school.
He's so happy. So the voodoo dolls in Hinduism. A bit of a challenging one to find educational, academic background and information on. The point is that voodooism and this type of black magic is still present today as it was in the past, and it's difficult because there are so many layers to black magic.
Yeah.
So although there probably was voodooism and the like in India, as there was all over the world, there's a common theme that typically you have a sort of effigy practice within voodooism, wherein the voodoo doll conversation comes in. So that voodoo doll that we're all familiar with today, which is typically that kind of really sketchy looking doll that you're to. So that is coming from the European tradition where they used to fashion kind of a rag doll into a witch type of form. And they would pierce it with needles or whatever to kind of, cause harm, inflict harm or whatnot, whatever you want to do to somebody.
It's probably really cathartic.
Yeah, it's like a stress ball.
Yeah.
So if you have any more information about voodoo dolls, let us know.
Put down in the comments.
We don't know anything about it. No. But when it comes down to it, the point is that this voodoo, to some degree, exists almost everywhere. But this voodoo doll that we are the most familiar with is of a European tradition. So it is kind of a little bit of a bias type of...
Yeah, like they're just putting something in a movie that its main audience that it's geared towards would identify with and recognize immediately as something inherently evil.
I've always wanted to go on one of these things though.
Oh yeah. I always see them like really creepily though. Like mine carts are always like Pinocchio-y, right?
Yeah.
Like creepy and turn you into a donkey type thing.
So literally just Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, like just...
It's creepy.
It's creepy. So this is a really cool fact actually about the Temple of Doom is that it was inspired by another movie by George Stevens in 1939 called Gunga Din, which itself was inspired by a poem of the same name written by Rudyard Kipling in 1890. The poem itself is about a water boy who serves the British Army by the name of Gunga Din. He's treated very badly by all of the soldiers, but the poem ends on a sort of a happy note where he is celebrated as a hero because he saved a British soldier and it actually ended up costing him his own life. So he's kind of a martyr for the British soldiers. It was a different time. This 1939 movie, on the other hand, they use this poem very liberally. Gunga Din in the movie is still a water carrier for the three main characters in the film, but it has a very like sinister undertone with this weird murder cult during the time of British colonialism in India. Sounds familiar to Temple of Doom, doesn't it? You think? But if you watch the two movies, you'll see that there are a lot of themes and events that they took from the 1930s movie to the Temple of Doom. I'm so weirdly jumping.
You want the stones? Let him go!
He still has the stones? You think they would have taken them from him?
I think, yeah.
I don't remember them ever like going to get them.
I guess he could have retaken them if they did take them away.
But they kept them in his bag?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
He put together a new bag, Raven.
He found his bag, then he found the stones.
Yeah.
All off camera.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It makes complete sense. I don't know what you're talking about.
Weird. Make me feel like I'm crazy. Gaslighting me.
You could have kept it.
What for? They'd just put it in a museum. It'd be another rock collecting dust.
So what belongs in a museum?
Tell us, Indy. Tell us. Everyone quotes "It belongs in museums." No one quotes this. No one. He's such a hypocrite. He gets flip-flopping. He's a flip-flopper. All right, guys. Well, that was the Temple of Doom at 1.5 meter distance.
Perfect.
Hey! Oh, good. We kept our distance the whole
From
time.
navel to navel.
It was a little weird, though, to be so far away from you.
I know.
Temple of Doom is probably the worst of the Indiana Jones movies, even if we do include the Crystal Skull, because it was just offensive, and it was supposed to be some weird horror movie that turned to try to be funny, and even Steven Spielberg was like, Temple of Doom was just crap. But some people really like it, and of course we had to cover it because we have to do all of the Indiana Jones movies. But yeah, so that was the Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones #2. I can't wait for the third one. So if you like that video, go ahead and smash that like button down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you see all the other fun reaction videos that Jude and I are going to be doing or already have done. Big thanks to all of my patrons on Patreon. If you want to become a patron, go ahead and just click that link down in my description below. And as always, stay dirty, my friends.